Hey guys, it's Francine Simone, and I am here with a book review on Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Beliza. So guys, first things first, before I get into the review, I do want to let you know that if you guys are writers, sign up for my mailing list. You will get a weekly writing tip every Wednesday all about how to make your stories better, great storytelling tips. And of course, you'll be able to hit the reply button and get in contact with me like ASAP about anything else that you need to know or anything in regards to the email or to that tip or whatever. In the description, there is a link to my mailing list. And also, if you go to my website, www.francinesimone.com, there is a link there too. So on to Empress of a Thousand Skies. So this story is all about, well, I'd read you the blurb, but it's a lie. This story is literally all about a 16-year-old girl, or a girl who's about to turn 16, and her family was assassinated maybe 10 years ago when she was like 6 or so. And she's the last living heir. She's been kind of kept recluse and she is about to be coronated, and then there's an attempt on her life. She has to go into running, and then she's gonna like do her revenge thing. Plus, it also follows a guy who is a TV star on another galaxy. This is sci-fi, by the way. And he is being framed for her murder, so he is also on the run. And a lot of craziness happens while these two are on the run, and more craziness happens, and then the story kind of ends. So you can probably tell I didn't really get in. I didn't like this book at all. Guys, I was so disappointed by this book because I was so excited for it. Like, if you check out my Fairy Loot unboxing video, you'll see that I was like, I got to this book and I was like, I'm gonna drop every motherfucking thing I'm doing right now and read this book. I'm gonna go for it. Like, I was gung-ho, guys. I was so fucking like psyched for it because it's sci-fi. I read the first few pages and it has like a real like Star Wars kind of feel to it. Like, guys, I love, like, okay, I say this all the time, but I love Firefly. Everything about Firefly. I love how like space cowboy it is. I love how they go to different planets. I love how the world is pretty like intense and there's different stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's lots of complications and lots of problematic shit going on with Firefly when it comes to world building and all this sort of stuff, but I'm not even into that right now because you know what? I love the fuck out of it and I love that shit and I love that type of science fiction. This is what that was going to be. I read the first chapter and I was like, oh, I read the second chapter and I was like, okay. And then I read the third chapter and I was like, what are you doing? And then I read the fourth chapter and I was like, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you going downhill so fucking fast? And we really did. We never really stopped going downhill. So let's get into it. Character, plot, and world. Where does the quality in this story lie? Characters. We have Rhiannon, I think, and Alyosha. And Ray. Now, okay, for short in the book, we call them Ray and Allie. Ray, or Ree, it's R-H-E-E, is the girl and Allie is the boy. Ray, let's start with her. So we're following her, and I'll be honest, from the first chapter, there is a bit of a problematic issue. It almost seems like she's fleeing in the first chapter, but then we find out she's not. She's just kind of going out to like find her friend to say goodbye. Like, I was a little confused by what she was doing. So the world is amazing. There's a lot of information being thrown at you at like up front, which is okay because it's science fiction, it's fantasy. Like, that's gonna happen. You're gonna get more comfortable as you go along, right? And then we're kind of given like the motivation. Ray, she is all about revenge. This girl is like, I will revenge my family. And I was like, okay, girl, I hear you. Like, it must have been really traumatic when you were 6 and all that happened. I mean, I can't really say that I would feel the same way necessarily if I was 6 and it happened. But I mean, like, if I was raised to be like a revenge type chick, then for sure. Like, I watched the show Revenge. I know it's possible, right? So then as the story goes on, Ray's motivation never changes, even though plot events do and obstacles should change things. And as the story goes along, as we're reading, we're like, Ray, girl, have you thought this through? And she'd be like, nah, I ain't think nothing through. Maybe I should. And then you're like, yeah, maybe you should. Okay, I'll give you that. Like, at least you know you should. Then 5 minutes later, you'd be like, bitch, I thought you were going to start thinking things through, and why am I like 10 steps ahead of you and you're like 15 steps behind me? Like, what is going on? You see how that math didn't make sense, but you thought it did. Like, no, you're dumb. Get out of my face. Go lay down. Like, I was really getting tired with Ray. The problem is that as a reader, I could see the issues and the problems and what she was doing ahead of time that she wasn't picking up on, and she like never really picked up on, and when she did, it was like way late towards the middle end of the book, and I'm like, she suffers from dumb girl trope. And guys, this is like the worst. It's the most unintentional trope. We never intend to make our characters dumb, because it can create a very rough and a terrible experience for the reader. It's frustrating because then that means I can predict what's happening and I'm no longer in the story. I am just watching this person float through it. And there's no character development. And I do acknowledge and respect the fact that she was young and that she also was very rash and irrational at times, and that she knew that she was irrational and she knew that she was just, you know, very like reactive. Like, I understand that. But the problem we have is during moments of reflection, she wouldn't change course and it didn't necessarily cause negative consequences. But I'll get into that with plot and world. Let's go to Allie. So Allie, our space boy TV star. Wowzers. I was really interested in the fact that he was on a reality TV show. Like, guys, it's really, really interesting because, I mean, like, I was really apprehensive going into that, but then I liked how it was portrayed, and I liked how he had a co-host, and they were in the military, but, you know, like, they just became TV personalities, and so it goes. That was cool. And also, he has this whole plot line going that there is a prejudice against him based on the fact that he's one from this planet called Ratai, we'll call it Ratai. And also, he's a dark skin, so it's very easy to like tell that he's from that planet. Which, thinking about it, guys, it's kind of weird because the planet's not that close to the sun. There are other planets closer to the sun, so you'd think that, like, you know, there'd be more people of darker skin complexions than just them. Like, they were being made out to be like really dark, and like it's obvious who they are. So I'm a little confused by that. But let's keep going anyways. The problem I had with Allie is that he suffered from prejudices, and there's a lot of complex insecurities that go with that. There's a lot of complex insecurities that go into trying to portray yourself to the other race so that they accept you, or at least don't call you out for what you are. But he didn't necessarily have them to the extent that he would, or I should say he had these kinds of insecurities and complexities, but they did not play out in his actions or in his thought process. It almost seemed like other characters were more aware of them than he was. And even in his lack of awareness of them, there's a certain type of pattern of behavior that people display when they are unaware of their insecurities. And I just hate to say that, because there was so much potential with that as a developing like issue, and there's so many great negative consequences that can come from someone who has insecurities like that and who are constantly focused on their attributes and how other people view their attributes versus, you know, who they are. And there's so many complicated feelings that come from that, and it's ugly feelings for sure, but it's amazing for writing, and it just wasn't there. Allie, what are you doing to me, dude? So guys, let's move on to plot. Now, I really don't want to spoil this book, and I'm going to spoil it at the end, so I will let you know when I'm going to say like a spoiler plot thing that really fucking like grinded my gears. But for now, what I'm going to say is this book very much lacked plot. Every chapter was a cliffhanger, and I mean the kind of cliffhanger like so-and-so held the knife to her neck, and then next chapter there was a crash landing on a planet. That's how one of the chapters ended, and the next chapter literally was a week later. Like, you can't do that. You can't crash land somebody and have a whole bunch of stuff happened during that and then be like, well, let me tell you about what happened during that, because it's a week later now and I'm somewhere totally different, so let me just fill you in on what happened after. It's like, oh my god, you so the problem with all of the cliffhangers is that it just killed the tension of the book. It killed the plot itself, because now as a reader, I'm literally just like, I'm constantly like reading these like, okay, we're going to a 10, now we're back to a 1, going to a 10, now we're back to a 1, going to a 10, now we're back to a 1. And there's literally no resolution in between these chapters, or like there's no resolution from one plot point to the next. And that was just highly aggravating as a reader. And vice versa, vice versa. It's, it's like a ping pong ball, and I was just getting hit back and forth, and there's no gratification in between. So another issue that I had with plot is, honestly, guys, there just wasn't really much. The plot never progressed. It never went anywhere. It was just a lot of chase and a lot of action and not much else. So let's go ahead and move on to World. So guys, with World, it started out amazing. Like I told you, it was just awesome, awesome, awesome sauce. I was really invested in this world in the first 2 chapters. These people have this interesting technology called a cube, and all of a sudden this really cool world aspect became the center of the plot, and it all fell apart because it just didn't really make any sense. And then on top of that, when it came to world interspace travel, I was so confused. Like, one minute they're on a planet, and then the next minute they're on a different planet, and it would be okay, but I didn't understand how they were traveling between these places. Sometimes they used pods, other times they were on a train, and then that train somehow took them from one place to a completely different place, but then it stopped, and I'm like, well, where did it stop? Because, and then if it stopped, how did you get back on another train? Like, I was so confused about how these people were traveling, and they were traveling super fucking fast. And it just, that's part of the cliffhanger endings and all that craziness is during a cliffhanger. And then by the time you come back, they've already escaped. They stole something and they got off this planet and they're headed to this planet to do this. And you're like, okay, but how? And you just be traveling to different planets like that. And like, what? Well, why if you can just travel to different planets so easily, are you like always in harm's way? I just don't understand it at all. And where are the interspace police? Like, Allie is an interspace police, but he's like, does the outer realms because, they hate him apparently. So I'm expecting there to be like a police force for all these stolen pods that they keep traveling into these inner planets on. And it just wasn't doing it for me. So guys, overall I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. And I only gave it more than a 1 star because the first 2 chapters were solid. Kind of. Recommendations. If you don't mind anything that I said, go ahead and pick this book up. I mean, like, it was quick. And if you really like cliffhangery kind of stuff, or like, you don't mind any of that, then you'll probably enjoy the book. It was a quick read. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and insert a spoiler here. So if you don't want to hear it, just go ahead and I will leave a time down below of when the spoiler's over and you can just fast forward to that. So spoiler, you've been alerted and you've been warned. Okay, so like at the end of the book, we find out that the guy that she thinks is tried to kill her family isn't the guy that tried to kill her family. I mean, like, go figure. She's like going based off these memories of when she was 6, and even though they're recorded, like when she like plays back the recording so that you could be a part of it and see what it is, you're like, that's pretty vague. Like, I don't understand how you as a 16-year-old would still read it the same way as you did when you were 6. Like, it's still perfectly preserved, but that doesn't necessarily mean this guy tried to kill your family. But okay, we'll go with you because maybe there's something I don't know that you do. Nope, turns out that guy didn't try to kill her family. We were right. Her memory was solid. She's just a little stupid. So then it turns out that this guy who is a TV star, he's like a good like TV host or whatever. So after the guy that she like was going to do revenge on, he gets murdered. So this TV host all of a sudden becomes the next emperor of the kingdom because he was charming and wore a military outfit. What? That doesn't even make any sense. I'm sorry. There's protocol that happens, like, after a regent is murdered. It doesn't go to just anybody who the people likes. Like, that didn't make any sense. And that really, like, grinded my gears because I was like, no, that's not how things work. There has to be some type of senate or some type of whatever. You don't have a dynasty and then not have those, like, different elements in place. Like, come on, people. Come on. Next would be the issue is this guy's whole point is to go to war with a planet they've already blown up. like, when he said that he was going to go to war, the whole reason why Allie is, like, blamed for the murder of the princess, even though that she's not, was so that they could essentially pin it on a black dude from this planet and go to war with that planet. But the problem is 10 years ago, they already blew up the planet. I mean, there's even a picture of the planet all blown up into bits. And Allie even drives by it on one of his space mobile pod things. And he's like, oh yeah, there's the planet that blew up. Also, another key point and another problem is, how is Allie pinned for a murder when he was literally being recorded during the murder? He was on live television during the murder. How they pinned that murder on him when he was on a spaceship with his co-host being recorded. They even had a recording of them while they heard about the princess's, like, assassination. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And, like, honestly, guys, these were the two biggest plot holes that, I mean, like, how do you, how did no one catch these plot holes in development? Like, how do you go to war with a planet you've already blown up, let alone dig up some stuff off of a planet that's already been blown up? It's blown up! And now my rant and my spoiler is over. And if you actually watched it, that's one of my main reasons of why I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this book, because the plot hole is just, I mean, once you get to that issue in the story and in the plot and you're that deep in, if you're, I mean, like, if you just were paying attention at all or even looked at the picture in the front, you're just gonna be like, wait a minute, what? I just can't roll with that, and I can't, in good conscience, tell somebody else to. So guys, that is it for An Empress of a Thousand Skies. If you've read this book, or if you were going to read it, let me know what you thought down below. I mean, if you liked it, let me know down below, and let me know why you liked it. So that way, I know who I can recommend it to. Because again, you know, just because I rated this as a low quality book doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve to be read by other people who could possibly enjoy it. And also a reminder, Darkness Comes at Dawn is available for pre-order, so go down to that description and go ahead and check that baby out, guys. Anyways, as always, I love you guys, and TTYL, ta-ta for now. Have a great day. Bye!